With markets changing and living costs rising, finding a reliable place to grow your money matters now more than ever. In the Wealthfront Cash Account, your uninvested cash can earn up to 3.95% APY. That's a 0.65% boost over an already high rate for 3 months, just for being a new client. There are no monthly account fees or minimums, and you get free instant withdrawals to eligible accounts 24/7, so you always have access to your money when you need it. And when you're ready to invest, you can transfer your cash to one of Wealthfront's expert-built portfolios in just minutes. More than 1 million people already use Wealthfront to save and build wealth with confidence. Get started today at wealthfront.com. 3.3% base APY via program banks as of January 30th, 2026. It is representative variable, requires no minimum, and is earned on funds swept to program banks. Instant withdrawal subject to conditions. Boost up to $150,000. Cash account offered by Wealthfront Brokerage LLC, member FINRA SIPC, not a bank. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Investment advisory services provided by Wealthfront Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode with the Crime and Coffee Couple. My name's Allison.
And my name's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Allison. Jennifer, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention in our last episode, it was your birthday.
Yeah, it was. And that's okay. You forget all the time. I think every year you forget it's my birthday. I'm just kidding. She remembers
I
all
never
the time.
forget his birthday.
No.
I like to make it a special day. And you are the big 4-6 this year.
Yeah, it's a major milestone. Everybody celebrates their 46th birthday.
In a big way.
Yeah, they come out of the woodwork like, all right, 46, we made it.
46.
Yeah, I'm probably like 3/4 of the way through my life. So that's pretty good.
You know,
I'd say
it has-
another 10, 15 years.
You think about like life in our 20s, it's just like you think you have all this time in the world, and unfortunately, it goes by in a blink. People used to always say that, and I was like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. And then it's really true. It's just because for us, our 30s was just a blur of babies and, small children and trying to establish ourselves in our career. And now that things are a little calmer, you could say, our kids are older, they're more self-sufficient, things are calming down in that way, we have more time to kind of reflect on where we are in life and the fact that, we're about we have less than half of our life left.
Yeah.
God willing.
It's morbid. It's definitely morbid, but you start thinking about just, you don't have a lot of time left. You start looking at those calendars. You ever see that like life calendar that like shows like each dot is a week? And then like, somebody in our situation would be like half your dots would be filled up. And it's like, man, it's not a whole lot left, which is why I started taking my health a little bit more seriously. I still have a lot of work to do, but just like working out more often and just making some better choices and, stopping drinking alcohol, whatever. Like everybody has their own choice, and, not looking down on them. But yeah, just kind of taking it a little more seriously. Like I want to be able to like pick up my grandkids and run around with them, roll around and all that stuff, pick them up without worrying about it. It's, life is short.
And not only just that, but just, knowing that every day, I know it sounds so corny, but I have been thinking to myself, like, every day is a gift. And the fact that I'm able to go up and do my workout, I might not want to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning, but the fact that my body is allowing me to do the workout, I have to be thankful for.
Well, that's what like all those like trainers on Instagram and stuff say. It's like, you get to do this. You don't have to do this. You get to. It's like,
and it's true. It really is.
What kind of got me too was like walking around. Like if you go around to the mall or any stores, whatever, Target, like I swear, like a quarter of the people just can't walk. Like there's like they're limping and stuff. And I know there's a bunch of different ailments and stuff. And I'm not judging anyone, but it's like, man, I don't want to get to that point. And then like there was a point where both of our parents have had some health struggles at some points because they're getting older, and it's that's when it happens.
Yeah.
And we're just like, man, I hope when I get to that stage, I'm going to be more prepared for it.
It's true.
Like my dad, he's a guy, he fell down the stairs, and he's a very active guy, so he was able to get back up and going pretty quickly. But like if he wasn't moving around, it'd be a lot harder time. So yeah, not to preach about stuff here, but I am.
But here we
older.
are preaching about stuff.
Well, I'm 46, and it's the age where like you kind of forget what age you are. I don't know if you have that problem at all.
No, I don't.
Like a lot of times, once I hit my 40s, it was like, how old are you? I'm like 42. And I have to like, and we were born in like 79, so it's hard. It's not like a 1980 where it's like nice and round. It's like a 9 minus 4, blah, 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 and it's like
carry the 2.
Yeah,
but no, I don't forget what age I am, but I'm also not somebody that I'd be ashamed to say what age I am. I'll be 46 shortly thereafter you. I mean, there's no shame in that. It's a gift to be able to
Yeah,
age.
it's a privilege. It's like, man, I made it this far. Like some people haven't. So it's
Exactly.
it's good. I'm We'll probably post a picture about the new coffee maker that I got.
Mike's getting a new coffee maker.
Yep. By this point, listening to it, I will have it, but I don't yet, so it should be pretty fun. But yeah, it should be good, and we'll share alike. But if you like what you got, what we do, and you appreciate it, and you want more episodes, there's plenty, over 100 bonus episodes available on Patreon or Apple subscriptions. So go check it out. You can sign up for a free trial through either of them. If you listen on Spotify, go over to Patreon, and if you're on Apple, obviously Apple subscriptions are better. So check those out. Thanks for leaving all those comments. I will say it's actually working quite a bit within Spotify and Apple Podcasts. They're starting to share us more. They're starting to leave us under like the bigger podcasts, like more like this. So some of the bigger ones out there, like Murder with My Husband, I know that were suggested a lot, and some of the other big ones out there.
And if you're new to us, welcome. We're glad to have you here. I mostly present the cases, easy for me to say, and Mike listens.
It's a good thing you're presenting all of them. You talk so well.
Thank goodness. He doesn't know about the cases. So as you're hearing it for the first time, so is Mike.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about anything. So it's kind of nice. I just kind of sit here and look pretty, which I don't even do that. So
And one thing I have to say is, too, we're pretty unedited. I will tell you that. So we don't pull out a lot of I try not to and but we do kind of raw cut our podcast.
Definitely no more raw and definitely no pullouts. That's for sure.
What?
You just said we don't pull out anything and you said raw.
Okie dokie now.
So,
on that note, are you ready to get into this?
I think so.
All right, let's do this. So this is the murder of Sonja Moen, So this is a case suggestion from Kaylee. So when we stand across from our partner on our wedding day, that's a huge day that a lot of times people dream about as they grow and think about what is their partner going to look like? What is that wedding day going to look like? Who are you going to share it with? What are you going to wear? Et cetera, et cetera. So we're standing across from our partners who we want to spend the rest of our lives with. We're exchanging our vows, and we can only hope and imagine that we're going to have a happy, long life spent together, and the memories you'll share, and the children you might have, and the adventures you'll go on together.
Yeah, nobody's going into a marriage thinking, man, we'll see if this works.
Right. I remember you even said when we were going to get engaged, you're like, well, how do I know if it's going to work? And it's like, you don't. You can only go off of what you know at this moment in time.
Yep.
And we were solid. So I'm like, that's a good sign.
Well, that's a good point. All right, let's get married.
So unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way, and the dreams of a life that you had imagined, filled with this joy and love, can end in the most unimaginable way possible. And this story is about the murder of 30-year-old Sonja Moen, who was a nurse, a mom of 3, and the life of every party. Gone far, far too soon, leaving her kids and family absolutely shattered. So at 7:38 a.m. on the morning of Thursday, August 10th, 2023, authorities from the West Fargo Police Department responded to a new, beautiful 2-story home on the 1100 block of Eaglewood Avenue. And they had received a 911 call that there was a medical emergency. And this was Sonja's husband calling. And this was 31-year-old Spencer Moen. And he indicated to dispatchers that his wife was not breathing, she was not responding, and she was lying in the bathtub. So Spencer met arriving first responders at the front door and told them that his wife, again, Sonja Moen, had slept in the bathtub the previous night, and he had found her unresponsive that morning. And he indicated that the previous night she had planned to take a shower or a bath, and elaborated that she had gotten sick, she had vomited sometime the night before. So the couples were both natives to Watertown, South Dakota. And I mention that because my cousin, we kind of grew up almost as sisters. We're only like a month apart. She currently lives right outside of Watertown. And actually, when we were having her over, I called it Waterton. And she's like, no, it's Watertown. So they were both natives to Watertown, South Dakota, but they were currently living 146 miles north in West Fargo, North Dakota. So as authorities entered the bathroom in question, they found Sonja's body, and she was lying on her back, fully clothed in the bathtub, and she had significant bruising to the left side of her face. That was very apparent right as they entered that room. She also had bruising across her forehead. So both of her eyes had extensive swelling, and they appeared to be swollen shut. There was dried blood dripping down from the right corner of her mouth and bruising to her hands that, even just standing in the bathroom, what would your mind go through towards as a police officer.
I mean, there's bruising and stuff. That's being beaten and assault from the husband.
Right. And so you're seeing these wounds at the hands, and you just think right away that she was trying to defend herself at some point. So within only a minute of the first responding officer, all of a sudden now Sonja's mother, this is Kristen Schofield, she is now arriving to the Moen home, and she ran up to the bathroom where her daughter's lifeless body lay, something that no mother should ever have to see their child in that way. And she is frantic, and she's anxiously asking officers if her daughter was breathing. And she was told that Sonja was sadly not breathing. And police asked both her and Spencer to please step out of the room. And with this, they moved to the adjoining bedroom, where officers witnessed Kristen look her son-in-law in the face and say, "Get the F out of my house." So as they stood in the bedroom, officers also noted that Spencer had bruising to his knuckles on specifically his right hand.
Oh, boy.
So right away, this is painting a very suspicious, distressing picture.
Not looking good for Spencer, because he didn't do very good to Sonja, is what it looks like.
So shortly after, Sonja was sadly pronounced dead by paramedics. And at the time of her death, she had 5-year-old twins as well as an 11-year-old daughter. So according to her obituary, Sonja was born on June 28th, 1993 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to parents Gary and Kristen Schofield. And she grew up in Watertown, South Dakota, like I said. And after graduating from Watertown High School in 2011, she completed 1 year at the University of North Dakota until her daughter was born in September of 2012. And then she went on to have her twins, a boy and a girl. They were born a few years later. And Sonja was just the type of girl who had endless energy. She was always ready to laugh, play, snuggle, and just truly love on her kids. And she always made sure that they felt loved and special in their own way. So despite the the busyness of raising 3 young children, that is a lot, especially 2 that are twins or the same age. I can't imagine. So regardless of all of that going on in her life, Sonja was able to put herself through nursing school in order to become a registered nurse so that she could truly provide for her daughter. And then obviously she went on to have twins until she eventually married Spencer.
Wow, she's driven. Like, you going after and being a nurse while raising kids, that's a lot.
And a nurse is not an easy job. Hats off to anyone out there in the nursing field. I work right alongside nurses. I have the utmost respect. They're on their feet 12 hours a day. They deal with things that I can't imagine dealing with. It's a very thankless job. Oftentimes they're even subjected to abuse, verbal abuse, and even sometimes physical abuse. So hats off to any of you nurses out there. So obviously she is a go-getter because she's doing all this, also raising her children. And she went on to work in the endoscopy department at Stanford Health, if you're not sure what that is, colonoscopies, EGDs, scoping the gastrointestinal system. So she went on to work her way up to unit supervisor, and then eventually she moved on to Valley Oral Surgery, where her coworkers described her as bright and bubbly. So her siblings joked that Sonja was the fun one of the family, someone who was a free spirit, full of mischief, laughs, basically just described as someone that's generally always happy and always the life of the party. Basically polar opposite of who I am.
I was thinking just like you.
I take the fun, I put it in the palm of my hand, I squash it down. That's who I am.
You don't actively squash it down. You just kind of like leave it there.
I'm certainly not the life of a party. Yeah. I can be fun sometimes.
You're pretty fun. You're fun.
So she was also incredibly kind. She was compassionate. She was someone that friends could always confide in, and they would do so without any sort of judgment. And that's the best kind of friend, that obviously we need to hear some truth to what's happening, but to really go without judgment is just really special.
Yeah, it's important in like any relationship, whether it's like in the business world or your personal relationships, just being able to talk to somebody and sometimes just like asking questions and sitting there and nodding and listening and letting people get their things out. And it sounds like she was an awesome person.
She really does. And I've looked at her Facebook profile. She just such a pretty, smiling, happy girl. So as authorities entered the primary bedroom of the home, they noted blood drops that were spotted on the floor to the left side of the bed, as well as the foot of the bed that was moving in the direction of the bathroom. So clearly something also happened in the bedroom. So officers learned that one day earlier, this was Wednesday, August 9th, Spencer participated in a golf tournament before he headed to Mapletown Brewery, where he was ultimately ended up being cut off by bartenders. That's how out of hand he got. So Sonja and the twins, they picked him up after it was dark. And before they headed home, they actually stopped off at a friend's house. This is Kyle and Savannah Prodzinski. And Kyle had actually been at the brewery with Spencer that night. And it sounds like he was being exceptionally obnoxious. And Spencer was trying to continuously put his own drinks onto Kyle's tab. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm not paying for your drinks. You're an adult.
Yep.
So during the time that they spent at the couple's home, Savannah and Spencer actually kind of got into a disagreement about flooring work that Spencer had done, since apparently he billed them more than they actually quoted and talked about.
Sounds like a great guy.
So according to Savannah, Sonja was always, like I said, a very cheerful, happy person. Even on occasions that alcohol was involved, she never had that toxic side to her. She was always happy. So when Sonja and Spencer left the home, though, they did say that by that time, all was well. They exchanged I love yous to their friends. And then when the couple left with the twins, they headed to a holiday convenience store in order to pick up sandwiches as well as cigarettes. It sounds like that may have been more for Spencer. And based on witness statements, the couple arrived to their home right around 10 p.m. that night. So Kristen, this is Sonja's mom, she indicated that on the morning of the 911 call, Spencer had taken his children to daycare earlier than usual. He dropped them off sometime between 7 and 7:30 in the morning rather than their usual drop-off time of about 9 a.m. So with this available information, obviously police officers had more to look at with Spencer. So he was detained and transported to the West Fargo Police Department for an interview. So as Spencer spoke with officers, he indicated that when he and Sonja arrived back home after, his golf outing and picking up the sandwiches in Mapleton from the night before, he said that they were both intoxicated. So when he was asked how Sonja injured her face, we see all this bruising, what the hell happened last night? He explained it was pretty simple, that they came home and she was just walking up the stairs from their garage of their house and she faced planted, is how he simply said it happened. However, toxicology reports eventually proved that her blood alcohol level was 0.03 grams per deciliter, of alcohol. This was found in her body, which was well below the legal limit of 0.08.
For driving. And we said in previous episodes, I've done like breathalyzers for fun and just to see, and like even 0.08 isn't like, super crazy. So if she was 0.03, that's almost nothing.
It's
that's
almost
like having
nothing.
a drink, basically.
Right. So the forensic pathologist, this is Dr. Kevin Whaley, he concluded, she's probably had a drink or so, but she had stopped sometime before her death. So it's not lining up with what he said. She's wasted. She's walking up the stairs to the garage and just simply face planted. That's a lie.
Right.
So he said that once they were inside, because of course that toxicology report didn't come back for a while, so he's sitting in the interview room just saying this. So I always want to clarify that this is his version of events. It doesn't mean this actually happened. So he said that he took the children upstairs to their bedroom, and at the time it was just the two twins, the younger kids. So it implied that their 11-year-old daughter was not home at the time. So once the kids were settled and tucked into their beds, he said that he came back downstairs to where Sonja was. And they went outside to the garage to smoke a cigarette and they began to argue. And the argument suddenly escalated. And according to Spencer, Sonja is the one that smacked him in the head. So at some point, their daughter came back downstairs and Spencer told investigators that he walked her back up to bed, settled her back in, and Sonja in this time was still downstairs. So he said he decided to just go to bed in their shared primary bedroom. So he's trying to get to sleep, and when Sonja eventually made her way upstairs for bed, Spencer indicated that she suddenly jumped onto him while he was just laying in the bed.
Well, if there's anything that gets you randy, it's after being face planted, after being totally hammered, and then walking upstairs with a bleeding face and bruises everywhere, and then you want to get into it with your loved one.
He wasn't implying that that's the reason that she was jumping on him.
Okay.
That she jumped on him in an aggressive manner,
okay.
Not an intimate manner. And she began to hit him. And during their scuffle, they both rolled off the side of the bed. Of course, he's got some explaining to do of why there's blood at the side of the bed. So now they're both on the ground, and Sonja, again, this is just Spencer's version of events, she continued to punch him. And in order to defend himself, Spencer said that he pushed his wife away by pushing on her throat. According to Spencer, he managed to push Sonja off of him, but she came right back at him and continued to punch him. And at this point, he told detectives that he punched her 3 to 4 times in the face with a closed fist. And while he was punching her, he sustained bruising to both of his knuckles. So, of course, he's explaining things away. Why did she have that extensive bruising on her face? Why were his knuckles bruised and abrasions and such?
I mean, I got to say that he's going about it the right way if he's trying to get off on it, right? I mean, get off on the charge, a murder charge. So at least he's explaining the things, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here.
Well, thank goodness we have a thing called autopsies.
Yep.
So Spencer said that when he finished delivering these punches to his wife's face, he was able to get up off the ground. Sonja stood up in anger and said, "F you, I'm taking a shower." And with this, she turned and walked toward the bathroom that was attached to their bedroom. So once she was in the bathroom, Spencer said that he never heard the water turn on, but he decided to go back downstairs in order to smoke and remain down there for somewhere around 15 minutes. But before he went downstairs to smoke said cigarette, he said that he heard some sort of commotion happening on the other side of the bathroom door where Sonja was, but he said he never went in there to look and see what it was that was happening. However, he later deduced that based on the way that he found her in the bathroom, he assumed that the sound must have been from his wife falling into the bathtub, causing head trauma.
So you wouldn't go check on your wife. I mean, I realize his story at this point is that they were in a massive fight, obviously. And, you know, that's not necessarily, you don't want to see the person you just got in a fight with, but if you hear somebody fall, I mean, as a decent human being, you'd probably check on them.
I mean, this is beyond me. The fact that he's saying he closed fist punched her 3 to 4. I mean, that is insane to me.
Yeah, I'm definitely pleased. I'm not saying that that's okay, but at least he has a story is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like he's a definite 100% scumbag. No doubt about it. I want to get that clear. But yeah, it's not a good scenario.
So when Spencer came back upstairs after smoking, he went into the bathroom and he saw that his wife was lying in the tub. She wasn't talking, but he knew that she was alive at this point in time because he could hear her making noises. He said he began dumping water on her in an attempt to rouse her so that he could get her up and out of the tub and take her to bed. Despite the water being poured over her body, she gave no response whatsoever. So unable to wake his wife, Spencer said that he decided to just leave her in the bathtub and he went to bed and he just fell asleep. So when he woke up now on Thursday morning, he went back into the bathroom and noticed that Sonja was still in the tub. And once again, he tried to wake her, and yet again, he was unsuccessful. So Spencer said that he leaned down and touched her. He realized that she felt cold to the touch, but he made the assumption that, you know, he still wasn't too concerned. She was sleeping in a wet tub, because remember, he was putting water on her to try to wake her up that night before, and she's laying in this porcelain tub, so he just assumed that she must have been cold for that reason. So he considered the possibility that maybe Sonja was dead, but regardless, he left her there in the bathtub and he got the children ready so that he could take them to daycare.
Well, you know, I got things to do. She'll still be dead when I come back. Might as well come back and check on her later. It's like, no, man, I think like when your kids don't have to be at daycare for another 2 hours typically, right? Because you dropped them off super early.
Daycare is daycare. That's
right.
Childcare.
Right.
It's not school. It's,
right.
You know, from my understanding, from the way that the research presented, they weren't yet in kindergarten. They didn't have to be. Our kids were in daycare. If we chose not to send them, we didn't send them.
Even so, like even if it's like some gigantic thing that they have to be there, it's like your wife might potentially be dead.
Unbelievable.
So that's probably something important
Beyond.
to look into.
You know, the only thing he could possibly say is, I didn't want the kids to see her that way.
Right.
You call 911.
That would be the smart one.
I mean, that's madness. So when Spencer was back home from the daycare, he said he went back upstairs and once again, he tried to unsuccessfully wake Sonja up. And he still at this point didn't dial 911. Instead, he decided to call Kristen to tell her what was going on, that Sonja was in the bathtub and she was unresponsive. Of course, she's got to be shocked and just terrified. And of course, she instructs him, please hang up the phone and call 911.
Well, imagine getting a call and saying, hey, your daughter is, the one I'm married to, your daughter's not responding. She's laying in a bathtub. It's like, man, what are you doing talking to me?
Right.
Get some professionals there.
And that's the first thing she said was like, oh my gosh, what did you contact 911? And he's like, oh no, I thought I'd call you first.
Yeah, I had to take the kids. I got to go get some groceries. Blah, blah, blah.
I mean, just the worst phone call a mother could ever receive. So during the interview with Spencer, detectives also spoke with the couple's 2 minor children because they were both home during the night before. So one of the children told investigators that they witnessed their parents wrestling and they saw that their mom's blood was on their dad's face. I mean, how traumatic that these kids saw their parents wrestling around. Again, we don't know what story actually happened because this is only coming from Spencer. But, but now the kids are confirming that, yeah, there was definitely an altercation.
And knowing it as a kid, how old were they?
5.
5 twins, right?
Right.
So, and knowing as a fact and being able to state that your mom's blood was on your dad's face. That's just horrible.
So sad. So officers also recovered both Sonja and Spencer's Apple iPhones, and they learned that their older daughter called Sonja's phone at 10:27 p.m. as well as 10:41 p.m. on that Wednesday night. And she told them that despite the fact that it was her mom's phone that she was calling, her mom hadn't picked up. It was her dad that picked up the phone. And he sounded irritated by the fact that she was calling, and he basically dismissed her and said, just go to bed, it's late. So the daughter elaborated that while she spoke with her dad, she could hear her mom in the background, and it sounded like she was snoring. So when Spencer was questioned about answering Sonja's phone that night, when their daughter called, he told investigators that never happened. She never even called. So he's just blatantly lying. It's like, dude, they've got your phone.
Is he an idiot? Like,
or
this is
Sonja's phone,
yeah,
I should
they
say.
can obviously tell, and then your daughter's going to say that she called you too, and then it's going to show on her phone that she called you or whatever. It's like so stupid.
So as the interview came to an end, Spencer was arrested for murder and transported to the Cass County Jail. And before he was transferred, authorities executed a search warrant in order to collect DNA swabs from Spencer and photograph his injuries to his body. They specifically were taking photos of a superficial scratch on his right arm. Of course, we said he had bruising and things like that. At this point in time, they noted that he lacked any bruising otherwise on his body to support his story that she was attacking him and jumping on him and punching him and smacking him. So again, no markings were indicative on his body that he had been punched or attacked by his wife.
All right. Well, I had some, not even any respect, but I thought he was going the right direction to try to save himself, but he's a complete idiot.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
So a search warrant was also executed shortly after his arrest to seize and examine data from the couple's phones. Spencer, just himself, his face recognition wasn't working at the time, but he entered his own passcode on his own accord and let them look at his phone. So when Spencer's cell phone data was reviewed, it was extremely, extremely distressing what they found in there. So they found a video recording that depicted Sonja lying in the bathtub where she had been found earlier that morning. And according to the timestamp, the video was recorded on Wednesday night, August 9th at 11:37 p.m. Authorities noted that in the video, her body was lying in the opposite direction from how they found it when responding officers and paramedics came to the house. So you could tell she had been moved and repositioned. So this was in direct contrast to the story that Spencer provided when he indicated that his wife had been unresponsive the entire time she had been in the bathtub. So according to his story, he heard a ruckus on the other side of the door. He assumed she fell into the tub. She wasn't responding. Obviously, if that was the case and he had never touched her, she would be in the exact same position.
Right.
So he's lying.
Again.
So during the recording, authorities could see and hear that Sonja was having an extremely difficult time breathing, and she was lying in an abnormal sleeping position. And they could hear snoring sounds coming from her exactly the way that Spencer's daughter reported hearing when she called her mom's phone. But again, she said she spoke with her dad instead. It was 10:41 p.m. that she heard the snoring. So it's confirming that her story is the truth. So once again, this is in direct contrast to what Spencer told authorities, that the conversation with the daughter that's 11 years old never happened. So the snoring sounds that Sonja was making were consistent with what is known as agonal breathing. And this is a term that's used to describe irregular gasping breaths that happen when a person is near death. And this happens when someone is not getting enough oxygen and they are gasping for air. It's normally seen in instances after a cardiac arrest or stroke, and it's a natural reflex when a person's brain isn't getting the oxygen that it so desperately needs. So the investigators who were reviewing the video from Spencer's phone, because of course they heard this information from the 11-year-old. I think I heard my mommy snoring, but now they're able to hear it with their own ears to know exactly what that sound was. So they're reviewing this damning video that he has on his phone, and they were able to determine that he was indeed the person that was recording it. And obviously there was nobody else there at the house, but they needed to prove that it was him that was actually recording it. Okay. They could hear his voice say Sonja as he was filming his wife's body laying in the bathtub. So during the video, he made absolutely zero attempt to provide any form of aid, any kind of intervention at this time to potentially save her life. So the next day, Sonja's body was transported to the medical examiner's office in Grand Forks. This happened on August 11th, obviously in order to have an autopsy done. So the preliminary findings indicated that she suffered from a subdural hematoma. This is a collection of blood that forms between the brain and the layer of tissue that covers the brain. So it's basically putting pressure and damage on your brain. So her cause of death was determined to be from blunt force trauma to her head. She suffered at least one fractured rib, according to the autopsy, and her manner of death was immediately listed as homicide. So at the time of her death, Sonja was wearing sweatpants, a shirt, no shoes, and only one sock. One of her natural nails, were broken and torn. That was suggestive that she was trying to fight someone off. She had 2 black eyes, bruising under her chin, and scattered abrasions to her legs, as well as injuries to her elbows and right hip that appeared as if it was from a dragging motion, that she was being pulled across something, potentially a carpet, rug burns. So defensive wounds were visible to her knuckles as well as her hands, and injuries to her arms appeared to be from grab marks. So Spencer was grabbing her. And a bruise on her thigh appeared to be from a punch. And there were little to no injuries to her back, so all of the injuries were to the front side of her body. So investigators spoke with a neighbor, this is Brady Zins, who lived next door to the family for 1 year. And then apparently when he moved out, his friends moved into his house. And both he and his friends indicated that they were kind of shocked by what they heard in terms of what happened here, but also kind of not surprised when they learned of the fact that Spencer was being, questioned for his wife's murder.
Well, were they shocked or were they not surprised? Those are two different things.
It's like, oh my gosh, that happened. Well, that kind of makes sense. Okay, how you can't believe it, but at the same time, you're like...
Well, you can't believe your friend is dead, and then all of a sudden it's like, at the hands of this guy? Well, yeah, he is kind of a scumbag, so I'm sure you're going to tell us more.
And this is a neighbor. It's not that they were friends. It's just the daily interactions we have with our neighbors as we pull into the driveway, we're outside, etc.
So it's like almost like if somebody in your neighborhood, it's like... your neighbor 2 doors down killed somebody. It's like, oh no. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Exactly. So in the year that he had lived next door, he said he had gotten the sense that perhaps Spencer wasn't just all there mentally, or maybe he had a drinking problem. Maybe he was a full-blown alcoholic. And he recalls often seeing the couple's 3 children out having fun. They were playing. And he describes his interactions with Sonja as very pleasant. They would smile, they would say hello, say their pleasantries, wave to one another, when they were coming home from work. And his interactions, on the other hand, with Spencer were not very positive. And he says he doesn't recall that they ever really had a civil conversation. So it turned out that it was not Spencer's first visit to the Cass County Jail where he was sitting at that moment in time, as on the night of December 8th, 2019, just about 4 years earlier, officers were dispatched to 231 10.5 West in West Fargo, and this was in response to a domestic call. So when they arrived to this home, they found Spencer's behavior to be extremely confrontational. As a woman that was within the home who had been the one to call 911, they were trying to ask her what was going on, what prompted her to make that call. So after Spencer had gone out with a friend to watch a Vikings game, it sounds like this is a pattern. He gets extremely intoxicated and he gets extremely aggressive. So she discovered the 2 men fighting inside the garage. She opened the door and saw that Spencer was on top of the man and he was choking him. So she immediately ran to the phone and called 911. And at that point in time, he was arrested for aggravated assault domestic. This paints a picture of pattern, is why I'm telling you this story. So the trial for Sonja's murder began in October of 2024, and it lasted for 5 days. And several witnesses were called, including the couple's children, which I can't imagine how hard that must be. When you've lost your mother, she has died tragically, your dad is being accused for the murder, the 2 5-year-olds were there. It's really heartbreaking.
And they're being called as witnesses, did you say?
Yes, because they were home.
Isn't that pretty rare?
No, I don't think so. They tried to make sure that it was done in a way that he wasn't in the room. They didn't have to face their father when they did this.
That's crazy.
But they were witnesses to what happened that night. And then the 11-year-old, who it sounds like obviously wasn't there, she was a witness to hear the sounds in the background. So Sonja's mother also testified, but Spencer's now 12-year-old daughter was a key witness and recounted calling her mother's phone that night, only to talk to her father. And she described the heavy breathing that she could hear in the background. And I mean, can you imagine, she heard her mother's last breaths, her mother dying.
And now she knows it because there's scientists that are in front of her there explaining what she was hearing exactly. And that sucks.
I don't know that they would have kept the children in the room for any kind of gory details. They just wanted their version of events.
Yeah, but this girl's 12 years old. She has access to TikTok and Google. She saw it.
So when Sonja's twins were testifying at this point in time, they were 6 years old, and they took the stand against their father. So Spencer Moen watched from a separate room, and the children indicated that they witnessed their parents fighting, that their daddy murdered their mommy. And despite the fact that they tried to get their daddy to stop.
They said, my daddy murdered my mommy?
Yeah, they saw their father beating up their mom. Yeah. So they tried to get him to stop, they said, and it was too late. During cross-examination, both children told the jury that they did still love their dad. I mean, they're 6-year-olds.
Well, sure.
So according to the children, their parents were arguing. It started back at the gas station because they stopped for those sandwiches and cigarettes. So even before they got home, they were fighting. And at some point, the fighting became physical. Both of the children witnessed this. They tried to break it up, and they even tried to call 911.
It's pretty disgusting when your 5-year-olds have better head on their shoulders than the dad. And obviously, it's his drinking that leads to this. It's so sad.
So when Kristen Schofield took the stand, she indicated that she had absolutely zero doubt that Spencer was the person that was responsible for murdering her daughter. She had been growing concerned even prior to this event about their relationship as things were escalating between the couple. They had been together for 17 years. She had even taken her daughter to see a divorce attorney a couple of years earlier. It sounds like Spencer probably had a drinking problem and he got really nasty when he was drinking. I mean, he was cut off by the bartender at the brewery before they even got home.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty hard to get cut off at a brewery unless you're pounding IPAs that are 7%. Beer is kind of, usually it's what we had a friend back in the day who's like, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to have a Miller Lite. It's like, obviously there's a lot stronger beers than Miller Lights at a brewery, but it's like, you got to have, you got to be there for a long time to get
And
caught up in
there's
the bar.
just something about being with an obnoxious person who's intoxicated that I have zero tolerance for.
Oh, it's the worst.
I don't want to be anywhere near them, especially at this point in my life. It's like, okay, back in our 20s when, that was like kind of a regular thing. Like now it's like, get away from me.
No, even then, like anytime you're around somebody who's like just a belligerent a-hole who drinks a lot, it's like, you don't want to be around them.
Get away. So jury members heard from Cass County Coroner Darren Heverland, who testified that the injuries to Sonja's head and face could not have been caused by her falling into the bathtub. Had that been the case, the bruising and injury would have been localized to whatever side of her body hit first. But that wasn't the case in this instance. She had bruising all across her head. The forensic pathologist described the subdural hematoma, that Sonja suffered with a midline shift of the brain, meaning that the brain tissue had shifted or displaced across the center line of her brain because of the traumatic brain injury that she suffered. So jury members also watched this horrific video. What would have prompted him to record this video?
I mean, I'm only laughing because he's such an idiot moron, and I'm so thankful that he is, because he took a video and it showed that he didn't care.
So they see this video, and of course you hear him say her name, so you know it's him. And they're seeing Sonja lying in the bathtub with bruising visible across her face and her body.
And it's so cold. Like the jury sees this and they're like, you didn't do anything when your wife was there?
Because you think at that time, could she have been saved?
Maybe.
I mean, it's just tragic.
Yeah.
And they could hear that her breaths were making a rattling sound. Photos were also shown of Sonja in the tub that showed that her face was bloody. It was swollen and bruised beyond recognition. The same condition that she had been in at the time in the video when he was recording it. So it's like you didn't call for help at this point. So the owner of the daycare where the Moen children attended since 2022, this is Bonnie Snyder, she testified that Sonja typically dropped the children off at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. She was typically the person who also picked them up. Bonnie indicated that she could remember maybe only one time that Spencer had ever dropped the children off, in addition to that day that Sonja was lying in the bathtub. So during that day in question, she was asked what did the children's demeanor seem like, and they appeared to be very sad. One was more quiet than usual. I mean, of course, they had witnessed something horrible. So while the prosecution summarized the events that led to Sonja's death, which began with a day that Spencer was out just drinking all day and ended in tragic violence at the home. Meanwhile, the defense was maintaining that Sonja's injuries were simply a result of this fall, this face plant that happened in the garage, where she became fatally injured. Mm-hmm. And they believed that this was not a murder case, rather an aggravated domestic assault case, possibly negligent homicide because of the video showed he did nothing about it at that point in time. So the prosecution highlighted the lack of injuries that Spencer had sustained because, of course, he's painting the picture that he was a victim and that he had to fight off his wife. Yet he had not a single injury to support this, except for the bruising to his knuckle that proved that he hit her.
Yeah.
So on October 23rd, 2024, after a few hours of deliberation, Mike...
Absolutely friggin' guilty.
Absolutely friggin' guilty. So the jury members in Fargo found Spencer Moen guilty of Class AA felony murder for the death of his wife, Sonja Moen. So on December 30th, 2024, Judge Nicholas Chase sentenced Spencer to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I gotta appreciate that.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Good some applause.
So he referenced his lack of accountability and the severity of the crime as reasons for the harsh sentence. And I mean, just watching that video, it just had to have been so brutal for the jury members to see this lovely woman who was so vibrant and hardworking and a fabulous friend and mother in that way.
Yeah.
So during his sentence, Spencer voiced some remorse when he said, "I never meant for this to happen. She was everything to me. I feel lost without her. If I had the ability to go back and change it, I absolutely would. I am deeply sorry and I promise to be a better man." Well, it's like, okay, well, you're going to be a better man, but it's going to be behind the walls of this prison.
Absolutely. The only people you're going to show are other fellow prisoners.
You cannot take back what you did. It's done. Sonja is gone at the hands of your fists.
We can't just do anything we want.
And I don't care if you're intoxicated.
No.
So defense attorneys requested a 25-year prison sentence, as well as lifting the no contact order that prevented Spencer from seeing his children, and arguing that his client's actions that night were simply a result of alcohol and drugs. What drugs he may have been using, I don't know. I could not find that. But basically that he was acting that way because of the alcohol, so he was not a danger to others if he was sober. So in response, Judge Chase emphasized the man's dangerous behavior, which was exacerbated by alcohol, and noted his attempts to create evidence for his defense during his interviews with police. He also highlighted the impact that the three children had witnessed, that their father's violence had led to their mother's death. And that is something that they will be traumatized with and live with for the rest of their life, as well as the fact that they are going to go on to live without their mother. The day that they get married, their mother won't be there. And that's just heart-wrenching. So members of Sonja's family, this includes her mom and her sister, as well as her best friend, they delivered emotional victim impact statements where they described the immense pain that has been caused by her death. Since her daughter's murder, Kristen has been caring for the Moen children and was thankful that Spencer received a life sentence, as the impact on the children will remain with them for the entirety of their lives.
Oh, yeah. They're going to need to talk to some people their whole lives.
For sure. So as of March 2025, Spencer Moen is appealing his conviction. This is something that the Cass County prosecutors indicate that they were fully expecting. Sonja's family have created a GoFundMe page to help provide the best care possible for the three children after they face the loss of not only their mom, but also their dad. So as of March of 2025, they have raised over $54,000 of their $75,000 goal. The children are being cared for by both sets of grandparents, splitting their time between each, which I think is really nice because it's not their fault, that their son was a monster. And it's also the children. They want to see their grandparents too.
Yeah, as long as you do proper checks. I mean,
right.
Like I said before, I'm a big fan of like genetics and thinking that genetics take a big toll on who we are as people. But yeah, as long as his parents have their stuff in line, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. So despite the fact that the trial has come and gone and Spencer's fate is obviously sealed, he is going to be behind bars for life without parole. But the echoes of Sonja's laughter, her free spirit, her happiness, her loving ways, they still linger in her family's lives, and they continue to fight on, raising funds to allow their children to have the best life they can possibly have after suffering such a tragedy of losing their mother at the hands of their father, and they are determined to keep Sonja's light alive. And her case is a stark reminder that behind every door, there is a story that waits, and sometimes it's a tragic one. And if you are experiencing domestic violence, please contact the National Domestic Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. And it just makes me just choked up to think that there are people that are living this. And it's just heartbreaking. And we talked about this in one of our recent cases that my heart breaks for you if you are living in an environment that is anything but loving, because you deserve love and love should not hurt. And if you are being hurt by your partner, they're going to tell you they didn't mean it and they're going to love bomb you and it's going to happen again. People are there to help you. Please get help. And I just hope that you're safe.
Yeah. Don't hang in there thinking people are going to change. Yeah. What we say is that believe people that tell you who they are. People are going to tell you who they are and believe them. And it's so hard to get out. So you got to do what's best for you. Maybe it's safer to stay. Maybe it's not. I don't know. It's like, what's best. Whatever your heart's telling you, do that thing. It's probably saying that you need to call. So I agree with you. It sucks that this is happening literally all over us. Like every neighborhood, there's something like this going on, like actively right now.
And, I looked through Sonja's Facebook page. I saw their house listed on the market. It's like this, perfectly suburban home, these smiling family photos. It just looked like such a perfect picture. That's why I always say you never have any idea what someone is dealing with, what is going on behind a smile.
Yeah.
And that's why it's just so important to be there for people, be kind, don't send harsh words, because we don't know what people are going through.
Or if you're in traffic and somebody cuts you off or whatever, and it's like maybe that person just got beat down by their spouse. You never know. That's what. Hopefully they didn't, but it's just like, okay, whatever. Just try to let it roll off your back.
Right.
it's tough. You don't know what people are experiencing out there. You mentioned that, unfortunately, Sonja's kids won't have her there for their weddings ever. And same with Spencer. Their dad's not going to be there to help him walk down the aisle because he made a horrible, horrible, horrible decision that he needs to own up to. And, he did. But, I mean, you got to stay in jail forever. And I was thinking as the commissioner of death, self-appointed, would I give this guy the death penalty? I don't, I do believe it's definitely fueled by alcohol. So as long as he stays away from alcohol, he might be okay. But at the same time, I agree with the judge. You can't let him back out because he's going to find his way back. And then what happens? He's going to hurt somebody else? Like, this guy's a danger to society.
Right. And it sounds like he was just so combative when he was drinking. And it's like, you put this guy out in the world, there's going to be alcohol out in the world.
Yeah, there's a human being and there's like society, and put him into society with some alcohol and mix that drink together.
Right back
it's
where
terrible.
we are.
It explodes.
And like Sonja's mom, Kristen, said, these kids are going to be dealing with this for the rest of their lives. He should deal with this punishment for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and at least they have some awesome grandparents, it sounds like.
Absolutely. You could just tell. I looked through her mom's Facebook photos. You could just tell they are a solid, loving family. And I'm thankful that the kids are surrounded by love after losing both of their parents. It's just sad.
If you're interested in donating to the GoFundMe, we'll put it below in the show notes. If I forget, then please remind me. Because I tend to forget things sometimes. But so sorry.
We're just perfect, or we're people. We're not perfect, but
we're just perfect.
And I wish. But we are just so sad for Sonja's family. It just sounds like she was such an incredible person, and I'm just so sorry that you had to deal with that, and it's a loss that will stay with you forever.
For sure. Well, thank you for telling her story,
and thank you all so much for being here. We truly do appreciate you so much. And like Mike said, we do have a bunch of bonus episodes. If you got a project going on, you're cleaning your house. Pop those earbuds in.
Get a free trial. You deserve it.
And boom.
Yeah, you got a free trial. You can listen to like 10 or 15, 20 episodes, whatever this weekend. Go do it. Do it, girlfriend or boyfriend, whoever you are. And if you love what we do and you don't have the scratch for the bonus episode, just go ahead and subscribe to our show on your podcast thing. Every podcast player you have, just subscribe to our show. Play it in the background. Even if you're not listening, just go ahead and play it. They like those plays. If you see us advertise on another podcast, go click on us and then, come on over. All that's good for the algorithm. That's good free ways to support us.
Yeah.
And like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Thank you guys so much. And until next time, bye.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.